Good evening, everyone. Uh, First time I am introducing the faculty member in my 22 years of professional experience. So if I speak anything wrong or if you find my accent from Saurashtra, then I beg my pardon. Uh, in July, I landed in Ahmedabad 22 years back as a student, and now I am as a public relation committee member. I'm delivering a talk. So I have seen the entire journey of my career of AMA as well as different programs. So let me welcome all of you. Today we have a very unique program, I can say. The topic is about on listening, and today we have very esteemed uh, guest faculties on the dais. So the topic is about listen to yourself, listen to your customer, and power of listening to be market relevant. So I will not talk much about on the subject, and I will also listen to the faculty members, and also we'll have a question answer. So let me give you some brief introduction about our esteemed guests. So let me start with Mr. Venugopal Dharmarajan. He is the co-founder of Listen Consultant. He has over 3 decades of experience. He excelled in marketing, research, training, and mentoring corporate teams and CEOs. So basically, he is an advisor to the board. His client including national and multinational company in India and abroad, specializing in performance enhancement, motivation, and positive reinforcement. He has spent over a decade at Landmark Forum, focusing on stress management and corporate team building exercise. Since 2015, he pioneered leadership coaching through coaching embedded organizational development engagement at prominent corporate entities globally, with a legacy of coaching empowering more than 25,000 individuals, spanning diverse age group of professions, and he continued to impact the corporate world profoundly. So I welcome Mr. Venugopal Dharmarajan, and on behalf of Ahmedabad Mehmet Association, I am welcome him with a token of appreciation. Thank you, sir, for coming to AMA.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, our second esteemed speaker is Mr. Mahendra Chaudhary. Mr. Mahendra Chaudhary has solid passion for market research and 28 years of work experience, working on diverse set of research projects, to back his claim. He founded Maxon Consulting Private Limited in 2015 with 28 years of experience across commercial and social sectors. He has advised global companies like Hindustan Unilever, PepsiCo, and UNICEF. Armed with an MBA and certification in marketing research from the University of Georgia, he is renowned for his down-to-earth approach and enduring client relationship. Maxon thrives on his vision to deliver comprehensive research solutions, spanning education to rural development, fostering enduring client trust and repeat business. I am also like to welcome Mr. Mahendra Chaudhary for this forum. Now we have Mr. Ramakrishna Mistry, a very well recognized global personality with us. He has a rich and diverse career spanning multiple domains. He brings a wealth of experience as a co-founder of Listen Consultants since September 2016. Previously, he co-owned and managed Mistry and Scott's Enterprise in Ahmedabad, a brief period in 2015, following a tenure at Idea Cellular, My Idea Store. Earlier, he served as a faculty member and academic coordinator at Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India at EDI Gandhinagar, and he held several roles with Gujarat Institute of Development Research. His journey includes positions at Give Foundation and the Indian Market Research Bureau, reflecting a comprehensive background in entrepreneurship, academia, research, and program management. On behalf of AMA, I am inviting him with a bouquet. Okay. So, our faculty members, all three faculty members, known each other since how many years? Sir?
Since 1998.
1998. So it's a very profound memory for AMA also. So thank you very much. And now I would like to hand over the session to Mr. Ramakrishna Mistry. Sir.
Good evening, everybody. Uh, it's always pleasure to meet people who are like-minded. When we, met Unmesh Bhai is a very close friend for a number of years. He said that, I like the word listen. When I gave him my card, Venugopal gave his card. He said, listen is, something unique which we don't normally come across. So he asked us for the history of why we kept the name Listen. And, Venu then explained that, we have been working with corporates, with non-profits for a long time. And what we realize in today's world is that nobody is there to listen. Everybody wants to speak, like I am also speaking right now. There are very few people who patiently listen to you. And I think most of the problems that our world has today is because of people not listening to each other. And that is how 2016, when we came together, as Deepak Bhai said, we know each other. All three of us worked together in a company called Indian Market Research Bureau, which was one of the largest means it was number one company in the country, market research company, way back in 1998. And that is how we were connected, and we continued that connection. And I think that continuation is also about listening, because when you listen to each other, you continue the relationship. So that is how this journey of Listen Consultant started. And Mahendra, although he is not directly part of Listen Consultant, but he is indirectly part of Listen Consultants, because we have been together for years together. So he started this Maction Consulting, which is focusing on marketing research. Now, today's topic, which we thought that is very important, because listening, normally, what we fail to understand is that listening is not only hearing. I think we have a PowerPoint presentation. If you wish, I can put it on. Otherwise, I can go on spontaneously. See, any Homo sapien means human beings on this earth, has 5 senses. And all these 5 senses are actually part of our listening ability. Yes, so this is the first slide. I think we should go to the next one. So when we go to the dictionary meaning of listening, whether you search on Google, whether you look at the Oxford Dictionary or any dictionary, it says that, listening is nothing but giving attention to a sound. That means that you are concentrating only on one of your senses, that is your ears. But in actual senses, it is beyond that, because it involves affective, cognitive and behavioral processes which are very complex in nature. When we say affective, it is, what is the motivation to listen? Like today, all of you have come together, so there is a motivation to listen. When we say cognitive, what is the span of attention or attentiveness that we are having? And understanding, receiving and analyzing that information, that becomes your listening. Most of the time what happens, we come from a background. Like, I myself have been through various stages of life where I have attended number of training programs, number of, sessions, this, that. Typically, what happens is when we sit there in the audience, I know this speaker is going to say this. And that's exactly the point where shutdown takes place. In computer, we know, we go and, shut down the computer. But for mind, it's very easy. Here you have to do something to shut down your computer. But for mind, you don't need anything. Moment you say, I know, when you come from that background, I know, it automatically happens. And that is why we don't listen. And as I was telling you, majority of the conflicts, disputes, problems occur because of non-listening. Whether it is within your family, whether it is within your organization, whether it is within your society, means the place where you live, when you don't listen to people, conflicts, disputes happen. I give you a typical example. My father was a civil servant of Gujarat Cadre. And, after he retired from the service, IAS, he was posted as, means he was re-employed by the government as member of the Civil Services Tribunal, which is basically a body which looks at administrative and judicial cases. Means there are disputes, right? There are people who are suspended, there are people who are dismissed from service, and they have to appeal somewhere. So this body actually works towards that. So he became a member, and then later on as a president of that Civil Services Tribunal. For 6 years he was there. So he became a judge. And normally, one person who has retired from the administrative service and one person who has retired from the judicial service, so retired High Court judge, becomes member of that tribunal. And both of them here, because one is the judicial person, he knows the legality, one is the administrative person who knows the administration. So once a case came where maybe a grade 3 or grade 4 employee of government of Gujarat was suspended for some misdeed. This is what he had told me, so I don't know the exact details, but this is what he had explained to me once. So, this person, when the case came up, he and one another person who was a retired High Court judge, both of them were hearing the case, and there was a pile of files. Typically, in government, because that person was suspended for 17-18 years, so there was a pile of files. So both of them had to go through it before they started hearing the case. And it so happened that my father asked that person, where is your lawyer? So he said that I don't have a lawyer, I'll fight my case. I'll present my case. Okay, that's permissible. So that person came there and, he started talking about his case. And, there is always a time limit. So that person went on and on and on about his case. And other judge on the bench was getting little, jittery. He said that, time come hai, jaldi karo aap. My father said, let him finish, na? Let's hear what he wants to say. And it went on for almost 2.5, 3 hours. And at the end of it, that person started crying. Means he was literally sobbing and sat down. So then he was offered a glass of water and he was asked that calm down, this, that. Then my father said that, okay, anything else you would like to say? He said, no, sir. And in typical Gujarati, he said, સાહેબ છેલ્લા 17-18 વર્ષથી છે ને ખાલી આ જ જોઈતું હતું કે કોઈક મારી વાત સાંભળે, કોઈક મારી વાત સાંભળે. એક કે અધિકારીએ મારી વાત નથી સાંભળી કે. So he wanted to say that, nobody wants to hear me. I wanted to tell you that this is what has happened with me and nobody is ready to listen to me. And now I don't want to pursue this case further. Whatever you do, you dismiss me from service, you take away my benefits. I have nothing to do with it. Only thing I wanted was someday somebody will hear me. And that is the lesson we all need to learn. Whether it is at the family level, whether it is at your company level, whether it is at your organization level, or with your friends, family, anybody. Give somebody a chance to speak out and listen. Unless you do that, things will not work. Relationships will not work. So, most of the time what happens, when you are listening to somebody or hearing somebody, we are planning response. Especially, my colleague Prakash is there from EDI. We have attended so many conferences and seminars together. Most of the time, people like me and Prakash, sit. We hardly ask questions. We listen. But what we have observed is that people, when the speaker starts speaking, they are planning how to respond. तो होता क्या है कि मेरे को इतनी जल्दी है कि मैं जल्दी से कुछ बोल दूं ताकि सबको पता चले ना, इधर कैमरा चालू है तो मैं भी वहां पे रिकॉर्ड हो जाऊं. So most of the time we miss the points and that affects on our own learning, because learning is a continuous process. Today I am here, tomorrow one of you or some of you might be here. And that process will go on, and that is how our society will function. We have to listen to each other, learn from each other. Even with your family members, even with your children. How many times we listen to our children? We have a standard response to everything that happens. बच्चा आके कुछ बोलने की कोशिश कर रहा है, we stop. No, ऐसा ही करना है. And that is where the problem starts. So, as I said, shutdown mode. Most of the time we are in shutdown mode, or we are preparing to respond before the speaker ends. And that is where the problem starts. So, one of the points I have written, this happens frequently in our lives, be it personal, professional, social or spiritual. वो विश्वामित्र वाली बात है ना, विश्वामित्र को मेनका मिलती रहेगी. आप कितना भी तप कर लो, मेनका आ जाएगी आपकी लाइफ में. एंड मेनका, ये सब जो है ना, mythological stories are also about how to behave in a social life. So these are, we don't know whether Vishwamitra and Menka actually existed. We don't want to get into debate of that. But at the same time, Menka is the interruption that is creating problem. And that is why we have to look at our five senses. I have eyes, I can see all of you. So what do I see? How do I analyze that? Like how many people, what expression? Eyes also say things. I hear. तो आप लोग कुछ बात करोगे या आप कुछ मूवमेंट करोगे तो आई कैन हियर द साउंड. टच, that's also, it's feeling. That says lot of things. Why do we hug? Many a times we do that, na? Gale milna. That's also part of listening. We listen to each other's heart, those emotions. Smell. You're passing through a place. यहीं से आप जाइए ना, नारोल की तरफ जाइए वासना बैरेज से, इमीडिएटली गाड़ी के कांच बंद कर देते हैं. स्मेल. एंड यू हैव अ टेस्ट. टंग के ऊपर सामने वाले को मिर्ची खिला दो, उसका एक्सप्रेशन से पता चलेगा क्या हो रहा है. सो when I say listening is not only about hearing, it is actually about all those senses. A mother holding hand of a newborn. एक छोटे बच्चे का, आप देखिए ना, छोटे बच्चा होता है, उसका हाथ माँ ने पकड़ा हुआ है. What do you listen from that, or when you visualize that? What kind of feelings comes to you? It's exactly like, love, affection, sacrifice. All these things comes to you simply by seeing, mother holding a child of a newborn. जो बोल नहीं सकता है, but still we listen. That feeling. अभी रथ यात्रा गया, अभी बहुत सारे फेस्टिवल्स आएंगे, घर में अच्छा खाना बनेगा. किचन में मम्मी कुछ अच्छा बना रही है, या वाइफ कुछ अच्छा बना रही है, बहन कुछ अच्छा बना रही है. दैट अरोमा, wherever you are, moment you enter, શું બનાવ્યું? જલેબી की स्मेल आई. That aroma also is listening. You don't have to ask, automatically it comes to you. Something has happened, something new, something tasty. एंड विजुअल्स आप लोग सबने देखा है शायद. नपाम बॉम्ब, एटम बॉम्ब ऑन जापान, ऑन वियतनाम, अमेरिकन्स यूज्ड. एंड अ चाइल्ड रनिंग with completely, skins burned. That also, visuals. Those visuals affect us. Now, that is part of listening. It's not only about hearing what is happening. So, next is, something which we would like to show you, will not take much time. There is a small 8.5 minute video by Otto Scherman. He is a German behavioral scientist and he is a celebrity person. And what he says about 4 levels of listening, you can read here. He has defined as 4 levels of listening. Very interesting video. I think all of us should watch this, listen to this every day to become a better human being. How do we start this, Deepak bhai?
Listening, from all leadership capacities, probably is the one that's most underrated. Everyone talks about vision and about this and about that, but listening is really at the source of all great leadership. Whenever I see leadership failures, and these days we have many occasions to do that, very often at the source of leadership failure is what? It's lack of listening. It's lack of connecting with what's really going on in reality right now. It's a disconnection between leaders on the one hand and the situation on the ground on the other. So listening really is a core skill, not only for leadership, but really for all domains of mastery, of professional mastery. So we all practice listening 16 plus hours a day. So it's not something, that we only engage with every now and then. And it is as important for our professional work as it is for our professional life as it is for our personal life. So I observed listening for many years, and I came up with a very simple distinction, which is 4 different levels of listening. So here's the first level. The first level is basically listening by what I call downloading, right? Downloading is basically that from your habits, you listen to what you already know. And the result, not that this is a surprise, but the result, of course, in that case is that you reconfirm what you already know. You reconfirm your opinions and judgments. And here's how this first level of listening by downloading works. Let's say this circle here represents the totality of what I know. It's the black circle is the boundary of my organization, of my concept, everything I know. And the red dot is the place from where my listen happens. So when I listen from the center of my own prison, what is it that I recognize? What is it that I'm listening to? I pay attention to what I already know. It's like projecting my own slides on the wall. So I'm in a closed room, all the windows are closed, all the curtains are down, and everything I see is limited to what I am projecting, my own concepts, my own slides, what I am projecting onto the wall. I'm not saying what you're projecting is not good or not appropriate. All I'm saying it's not what's really going on outside. It's a result from your experiences of the past. It's reflecting the past, not the present moment. And it's something that you project onto the wall. That's listening 1. The outcome is we reconfirm what we already know. Here's listening 2. Listening 2 is factual listening. And the essence of factual listening is that we notice what's different, right? We are noticing differences. We access the open mind, and the outcome is that we, notice disconfirming data. We notice what is actually different from what I expected to see. Charles Darwin was known to always have a notepad on him where he would write down observations that contradicted his theory, because he knew exactly what our mind is doing. When we notice something that doesn't fit our theory, is in contradiction with that, our mind is over time getting rid of everything that's not confirming what we expect to see. But he knew that disconfirming data is actually the source of innovation. So that's why he wrote that down, and it helped him to evolve his own theory. So here's what factual listening is. It's, you get up, you go to the window, you open the curtain, and you actually look what's going on outside. You watch what's going on outside. That's factual listening. Now that's what we train in all good science is. All good science is, notice disconfirming data. But for all of you, for all of us who deal with complex social change processes, this is not good enough. There are 2 additional sources of listening that are very critical and that need our skills and intentional skill development. The third level is empathic listening. It's listening with an open heart as an organ of perception, which leads to seeing the situation through the eyes of another. and which also leads to not to an emotional connection kind of to the other person that's not going away very quickly. So empathic listening is allowing you to step to connect with the experience kind of another person. And when I asked a cognitive psychologist, what really is happening here when you access this deeper way of operating, she said, listening begins to happen from the field or from the other person that you are connecting with. So this is what happens. Your listening begins to happen from the place from where that other person is speaking from, articulating from. That's listening 3. Now, so far, I haven't said anything new. Kind of all of that is well known. That doesn't mean that we do it, but it's all of that is well known. Here's the one thing that maybe is new, and that has to do with the 4th level of listening, generative listening, which requires us to connect with our open will, that is our capacity to let go and let come, and that leads to connecting with an emerging future possibility that is helping us to connect more fully with our real source of who we are and who we want to be. So you know whether or not you are operating on level 4, listening, when you watch your level of energy and when you watch whether or not your sense of self, your sense of identity has shifted a little bit towards the person who you really are and who you're moving towards. So what are examples for level 4 listening? It's great coaches, right? A great coach is listening to you, is listening to me, not only in terms of listening to all my struggles and empathizing with them. No, a great coach is listening to my current struggles in terms of noticing already the arrival of my highest future possibility. So connecting, seeing in me my tomorrow self, my emerging future self, and by paying attention to it, helping me to actually connect with that. So that's what great educators do. That's what great leaders do. They don't see you in terms of only your past, but they see you in terms of your highest future possibility. And that's kind of what this 4th level of listening is about.
आपको शायद पता ना हो कि SSL क्या है, लेकिन हैकर्स इसके बारे में अच्छी तरह जानते हैं.
So basically, the reason we showed you this video, this is freely available on YouTube. We operate in different levels at different times. My colleague, the first level of listening, where we say that auto mode, which is downloading, we come from I know. So it's like, in Sanskrit we say Kup Mandup. I am in a well, I am a small frog in a well. And I think that this is the universe. Unless I get out, I don't know. In entrepreneurship also, we teach, get out of your own comfort zone, see outside. What are the emerging realities? What are the future opportunities? And that is how we grow as human beings, we grow as a society. So now I invite my colleague Venu. Venu is a great listener. As I said, I know him since 1998 when we worked together in IMRB. He's a very patient listener. If I talk to him for 10 hours, he'll listen to me without uttering a single word. And that is what makes him a good coach. He's been coaching people across the globe, including companies like, Apple. So, Vinu, if you can, talk about how do we operate within these 4 levels? Because sometimes, we are at level 1, sometimes we are at level 4, but we don't realize it.
So first of all, thank you all for listening to us. Rather, when I say us, I am including myself in whatever Ram was saying. Because whatever Ram could say, he could speak because there was a listening available in the room. So you came into the room with your listening. And it is the power of listeners that gives power to the speaker. And we all know this because people who have come and spoken to you, whenever they have come and spoken to you, because you give them listening. And it's not something that you've been doing it today. You've been doing this for years now and you'll continue to do this. But only thing that we need to keep getting ourselves back is our default not listening. You don't have to do anything to not listen. नहीं सुनने के लिए कुछ नहीं करना पड़ता है. सुनने के लिए अपने आप को अंदर से साइलेंट रहना पड़ता है. So what I observed when I came into the room was there was silence. Not only there was silence in the room, but there was silence inside you. And that silence is nothing but peace. So you are at peace with yourself to able to listen. But वो peace को thoughts, opinions, judgments आके कभी भी disturb कर सकता है. That's in the default stage, which is where the downloading comes. You don't have to do anything for downloading. You know that automatic shutter sensor से खुल जाता है. So our sense of listening is very strong. So that's why people expect us to listen. And that's why, Dr. Otto Scharmer has said, we spend 16 hours of listening. My brother, who is elder to me by 3 years, he's a scientist. He keeps telling me, you don't listen. कभी-कभी मेरे को trigger हो जाता है. Then I really catch myself. If he's saying I'm not listening, that means I'm not listening. Because my listening is not about me, it's about the person who is receiving my listening. Recently, in one of the corporate companies where I've been doing trainings for years now, one of the senior executive, after the training, I went and asked after a day, कि कैसा रहा आपको session? So she came and told me, it was good, but can you give me some actual feedback? So she said, our experiences, you didn't hear us, you were biased. And obviously I was biased to the boss. Input का इनको train किस चीज पे करना है. So she had the power to communicate honestly to me because I was willing to give her that listening. And it is something which is something that you bring it consciously. You keep recovering from your not listening mode to listening mode, which you have been doing right from the time you walked into this room. You have been shifting from not listening to listening. Because there are a lot of thought that came up as Ram was sharing certain examples. कुछ पास में से निकला, कुछ बचपन का निकला. अरे यार यहाँ पे मैं like one of the things that keeps coming for me is I lost my mother in 2021 November at the age of 89. So I miss listening to her. So there are people who are not there. We won't get to listen now. So why miss out on listening to people who are there? And when they know we are there to listen to them. So the opportunity of listening, the way I look at it over the years, is it's also healing. It actually helps people download their baggages. The baggages they carry for years together. And because of listening, a lot of people have got healed and उनकी बीमारियां भी ठीक हुई है. And that's how, when you go to doctors, one of the things is this listen. Like I remember when my mother was alive, I used to take her to a doctor in Bombay. So जैसे माँ enter किया room, तो the doctor will say, "Hello, Amma." 50 to 70% of बीमारी is gone. I would see smile in her face. because he greeted her well. So there is a lot of energy that people get in your listening which is not visible. Because listening is something we cannot see because we can see speaking. इसके लिए कभी कभी कोई लोग बोल देते हैं अपने को तुम सुन नहीं रहे हो, जबकि हम बोलते हैं नहीं मैं सुन रहा हूँ, बट वो लिसनिंग उनको नहीं मिल रहा है जो वो आपसे चाहते हैं. Yeah, we had gone to Bardoli to a school which was for special children, and those children didn't speak much, but they were interacting with us in actions. Hath milana, smile dena. So in those 2 hours or 3 hours of time that we had with them and with their staff members, it was really great listening to what they were dealing with. The team which was managing those children, because it was a residential school for 160 students. And it was really difficult for those staffs who were there full time, taking care of them. So at some point of time, Ram ko, as he keeps talking, ruk ja Ram, just let's listen to those people. So there's a certain thing that got triggered that was there inside them, which actually had to come out. So when you actually listen to people, they will also come, उनके जो गुस्से अपसेट है वो बाहर निकल जाता है, और वो एक जहर है जो बाहर निकलता है. बिकॉज वो जो गुस्सा है, अपसेट है, वो उनको अंदर से खा सकता है. इट कैन किल देम. If you want to really literally destroy somebody, stop listening. Just neglect them. Sometimes kids, they bang their head, listen to me. So, I'm sure all of you are good listeners. But we need to keep looking at listening right now, not the listening that we already know of. Because listening is not something that you've already done, it's something that you're doing it right now. And each time, the listening is not the same. And people have grown, people have expanded, people have accomplished, achieved in the space of your listening. And wo आपको पता है, and they have also come and told you this also. So it's because of you, madam, it is because of you that I get to, get this stuff out of me, which was bothering me. So thank you for giving me times. So many times people call me just to share something and then they say, इतना भी बोलते हैं मेरे को कोई solution मत देना, मेरी बात सुनना बस. Okay, so Ram, I don't have much to say because there's nothing much that I can say about listening because all of you are good listeners.
So basically what Venu was sharing, we have been working together for a long time and we've been interacting with a lot of people, and what we realize when we listen to people, actually we learn more than them, because we come closer to the reality. When you listen to others, we come to the reality, which otherwise, we are away from. Spiritually, if you see, self-actualization, Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy of needs, or whatever you say, starting from physiological needs, roti, kapda, makan se leke, last one is, the spiritual need. And I think that is the growth path for any individual. Now, getting into listening is also important from the market perspective. If I am a company which is providing some product or service, do I listen to what my customers have to say or clients have to say? We always, I think AMA has already put a feedback form here. That's the way of, understanding whether we are effective as a faculty here. So that awareness itself is required. And we have Mahendra with us. I worked in market research and social science research for about 5 years. Venu, I think for about 10 years, 12 years. But Mahendra is the one who has worked for the longest period of time in marketing research, having expertise in helping companies come out of the problems. So, next, I would request Mahendra. I think it's not moving. See, in today's world, competition has grown so much. Anything, any product, any service, and you have 50 options, 100 options. And especially for MSMEs and SMEs, there is a challenge. We are all talking about startups. Entire government setup is now talking about startups. Since 1983, people like me and Prakash, who got involved with Entrepreneurship Development Institute of India, we talked about startups and innovations that time. But now government has realized that, we have to have startups. Young generation should get into entrepreneurship. So everybody is talking about it. But then when you start up, or when you are a small organization, you are a SME or a MSME, what is your market relevance? And how do you find out that whatever you are providing is actually satisfying your customers or clients? And that is where role of market research comes in. And normally, in today's world, what happens? Moment you say, people say, survey kari nakhiye, survey. Typically, this is the expression, survey kar do. अब तो गूगल फॉर्म भी अवेलेबल है, ये भी अवेलेबल है. बट एक्चुअल एनालिटिक्स ऑफ मार्केटिंग रिसर्च विच कैन हेल्प यू ग्रो और एंड सर्वाइव इन द मार्केट इज लिटिल डिफरेंट. And that is where I think people like Mahendra can help, because they have been doing it for years together. Even his consulting firm Maxion has number of non-profits as well as for-profit organizations. People who realize that they need this kind of work. So today Mahendra will talk about how you can inculcate that habit of listening within your organization. You don't need to go to a consulting firm for getting marketing research done. You can do it yourself if you inculcate that habit in yourself. So I invite Mahendra. Mahendra, if you can share some of your experiences and insights into how we can go about it. Please.
So good evening, everyone, and thank you for listening to all of us so patiently. You all are expert in your own fields, so I may not have much to say, what you can do in your own field or your own expertise, but I'll talk about what you can do to be market relevant and how you can conduct your own company's market research. Okay. For that, you don't need to go to any consulting firm or a market research company. You can do it yourself. So basically, what is market research? Market research is understanding your customers, their needs, their aspirations, their preferences, and their behaviors. And after understanding the customers, taking informed decision. Normally, how do we take decisions? I think, I feel, मुझे लगता है. So, which is quite risky. But if you take informed decision, the risk is reduced. So that is why we talk about market research. Now, market research or marketing research is very crucial for growth of any organization and to be competitive and for the sustenance of your organization. So, now how can we conduct market research? So, first is about listening to yourself. So, listening to yourself or listening to ourselves. So, we start with clear goals or clear objectives, what we want to understand, and we define that. Like, do we want to find out whether my customers are satisfied, or do we want to test a product, see whether the people like the new product that I have prepared or I have invented, or do you want to find out what are the opportunities in the market? And for this objective, have a couple of basic questions. Okay, like questions like, okay, what are the unmet needs of my customers? What can I do to fulfill their unmet needs? Or how do customers perceive my brand? Like, what do they think of my brand? Now, based on these questions, you can further go into details. So, how you can do that? So, there are online surveys like Google Forms, you must be knowing. So, you simply can, prepare a Google form with a few questions and then send it out to your customers. They may, most of them, many of them may not fill, or you can request them to fill up, or you can have some incentives for them to fill up, right? Or some additional services, and you can get their ideas or what they think about your products or what they think about the industry. Another way is social media listening. Now, this is like people talk about everything, anything and everything on social media. So, people might be commenting about your product or your company somewhere in social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, or somewhere. So, you can listen to those things and then act accordingly. Make your strategies based on that. Third is reviews. When people nowadays, like even if you go to a restaurant, we see what are the reviews like, whether people like it or not, and then we decide whether to go there or not. So, basic thing is we ourselves can read what people say about our products, our services, my brand, what people say about our competitors' product. We should read our competitors' reviews as well, so that we can find what we can do better. Third, the next thing is website analytics. If you have websites, you can do Google Analytics and find out what people are really interested in and act accordingly. So, now engaging directly with your customers. So, another level of thing is like, okay, maybe you can try it out once a week, just talk to one customer in detail, just have a discussion how they are doing, what are, if they are facing any problem, what are the problems they are facing, or what are the good things about the product that they are using, just having a discussion. So this is one-on-one interview. Right? Feedback forms, you can always keep feedback forms like this. You can send them with your products or send them separately, and customers can give you feedback, and based on those feedbacks you can analyze the feedback and act accordingly. And then focus groups. Focus groups, okay. Nowadays it is very easy to have focus group, organize focus groups. You can invite 8 or 10 of your customers online on Zoom or something, keep a meeting and discuss, taking just one thing at a time. Like if you start discussing generally, people will talk about 1,000 things, but focus on one thing, one product or one brand that they are using. And maybe, so the best thing about this focus group discussion is it builds on conversation. So what you may not get in one-on-one conversation, you will get it in the focus group discussions, because once one person starts something, the other person remembers or adds on to that, and we get very good insights out of these focus group discussions. So you may try this one. And so I'll talk about listening. One thing, an example, like, okay, long back we were after this sachet concept came about 25-30 years back. Earlier shampoos used to come in bottles, and not many people used those hair shampoos, right? Because they could not afford it. And somebody in 90s, early 90s or some 90, came up with shampoo sachet, and majority of people started using that shampoo, right? Those who are youngsters, they may not know about this, but people like me, my age, and they'll know. So this sachet concept came in, and it went into different fields. So one client that I was working with, so they wanted to bring it into those, roll cameras. That those days we did not have these digital cameras and all that. So they wanted to bring it into roll cameras. So that time camera used to cost about 2,500, 3,000 rupees, and that was a big amount for a normal person. So they would not buy a camera, and they would not click pictures when they go out on trips and all that. So they wanted to, come up with 80 or 100 rupees camera, which would give you 20 pictures, and that you just need to throw it off after that. So we were conducting a group discussion, and the product head of that company had flown down from London for this research. But the product head was so attached to his idea, people were not accepting. People said, no, we would rather go for the 2,500 and keep it for a long time, rather than throwing away every time this 20 rupees or this 100 rupees camera. But he was so attached, like we are talking about listening. So he would not listen, and they came up with that concept. But did you find that camera anywhere in the market, or did you come across, those who are grown-ups? Does anyone have any experience about that camera? No, that did not succeed, because he was not ready to listen to the customers. So that is listening. Okay. Now we can learn a lot about what customers face and how they feel, or how to improve our products by observing them using our products, right? So I'll give you one example. You have that? Okay. So this is a real story, how they developed or improved their product. So there was a home visit. Researchers do, or the company people, FMCG company, multinationals, they do home visits. They really go to the houses where they use their products and find out how they use it. So this potato wafer making company, they went to a house, and then they told the housewife, can you bring us the wafer packet if you are using one? So she brought one, and she had it like this. It was a bigger packet. This is not about India. This is about US story. So she came up with a packet and folded like this, cut packet, used packet, folded like this, and pinned like this. Okay. So that the wafer inside doesn't get soggy. This was the reason. Now, this gave her the insight that, okay, people are facing this problem. So what she came up with, what they came up with was Ziploc bags. Okay, so you can just tear it off, open whenever you need, use it, and then lock it. So this is how the products develop. This is how people get insights. So by observing people using your products, your machines, your products, you can find out the gaps that are there in the product. Okay. Another thing from the survey that I'll give you a simple example. We were conducting a lot of tractor surveys. Okay, so one of the feedback that came was कि ટ્રેક્ટર પર બેસવા માટે તકલીફ પડે છે. મારી હાઈટ ઓછી છે થોડી અને મને ટ્રેક્ટર ઉપર પેલું પગથિયું બહુ ઊંચું છે. તો then the company just improved it by having one more steps down there, so which can be folded when they are plowing field or that. So these are simple product improvement examples. You can do a lot, or you can get a lot of insights by your own research. So another thing, our own team, your own team can give you a lot of insights, because they are the ones who are in touch with customers day in and day out, and they know what is going on with the customers. So listening to them openly, freely, frankly can give you a lot of insights about customers and the products that you are dealing in. And having cross-functional meetings. Now, who deals with customers? Only the sales team or marketing team or service team. But others, production team, finance team, they don't deal with customers. And so this, what goes on in the field, what goes on in the life of customers, they don't understand. So having cross-functional teams meetings can help this. Now, I had an opportunity to associate with Amazon, which is a customer-centric company in US. In US, last year I had this opportunity, and what I saw there was, anywhere, right from the person who sweeps the floor to the top boss, everyone was empowered to think about customer, only customer. Okay. If so, the person who sweeps the floor finds something, a small thing, he will think, okay, this might be some customers leaked out and spilled out thing, so I should give it to the proper place, and that goes in. So imagine how your company would be if anyone and everyone in your company thinks about the customer. So that's what happens when we have cross-functional meetings and empower everyone to think about customers. We can have suggestion boxes where people can put in their own suggestions for improvement or anything else. They need not put their names on that, and that could help. Analyzing data that is available. There's a lot of data with government, with some other companies, online. You can just go through that data, analyze that data, and use it for your strategies and your product improvement. And then competitor. We should always have our eye on our competitor, what they are doing, what strategies they are following, and we can design our own strategies, create our own strategies accordingly. So you also have these local bodies and associations. So many of you must be having, must be members of these chambers of commerce and all, and that helps a lot in networking and understanding where the industry is going and all that. And if you really need to consult with a research company, maybe you can collaborate with similar companies like yours and do a collaborative research, which would cost you less. And you can continue. Now, this research is not one-time thing. We should keep listening to our customers day in and day out, and then and only then we can keep ourselves in the business and sustain and grow. So that's the thing. And not only to get insights, like if I find out, okay, this is the problem that my customer is facing, or this is the gap that I see in my product, we should act on the insight that we get. Just knowing doesn't make any difference. So, in the end, I would like to say active listening, as everyone says, is important in our personal as well as professional life. So, keep listening to your teams, your customers to be competitive and market relevant. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening to me.
So basically, thank you, Mahendra, for sharing your insights into this. If you remember, 1980s and 90s, वो typical वो जो soap operas आता था उसमें अजी सुनते हो. So I think somewhere we have to inculcate that habit, अजी सुनते हो, because in every walk of life we need to listen. Like he said, that it's a continuous process. It cannot happen only once. You can't say that, today I'll listen, tomorrow I'll take a break. It's a process. And you have to listen to people to be market relevant. If you don't listen, somebody else will listen and your business will be gone. And to stay relevant in the market, you have to be always on your toes. All three of us have been part of marketing research. We have done various kinds of, things. I've worked with social science research. Like, I was with an organization called Gujarat Institute of Development Research, which is known for its empirical research. It's the ICSSR Institute. There, we used to employ techniques. He talked about, observation. There are two methods in social science research and even in market research: participatory observation, non-participatory observation. I have used both the techniques. I have used FGD, I have used in-depth interviews. But the insights that you get, way back in 2004-5, I was involved with a research study on street children in Ahmedabad. It was funded by Railway Children UK. And I was part of the team which did this study in Ahmedabad, and we wanted to find out that how these children that we see on roads, not all children, we had a very clear definition that who are the street children, and under that definition it was only children who did not have any caretaker, and they used to spend entire 24 hours on the street without any supervision or help. So in those days, 2004-5, I think it has come out as a book also. Name of that book is Children Without Childhood. So we identified about 125 children in Ahmedabad, entire Ahmedabad city. We must have spent at least, 10 to 15 nights just observing them, non-participatory observation. I and one of my colleagues, we used to go there. We used to sit in the one corner and just observe how these 5-7 children who are there in that area, how do they sleep, how do they eat, where do they go for their natural calls, what do they do when police van comes. So their survival technique. And, it's really useful. So it's, observation is also a kind of listening. And we all learn that over a period of time. And if we can implement this in our organizations, whether it's for profit, non-profit, if we can implement this in even our families, a lot of things will actually become smoother or easier. So thank you very much, Venugopal and Mahendra. And thank you very much, Deepak Bhai, Unmesh Bhai, for providing this opportunity. Maybe we can spend some time for question and answers. If you have any questions, if you would like to know something more, so please go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. Any questions? Please, sir.
The point is, sir, how much we have to listen someone. Sometimes we know that some employees is speaking lie or something. So is there any limit, or we have to continuously listen him? I agree with you that we should listen, but the point is that somehow we know that he is telling lie somehow. So how much we supposed to listen?
This lie that you recognized about that person, okay, has happened over a period of time, or maybe it is something that has come from his earlier childhood life or whatever, like, okay, and उसके आपने कितनी बार उसको आपने ओवरलुक किया था. काफ़ी कुछ चीज़ें इसके बैकग्राउंड में होता है, ओके, विच यू नो इट फॉर श्योर एंड यू हैव समथिंग एट स्टेक, विच इज वाई probably you are allowing that person to tell lies. So how long you can afford to have that person lie to you, okay, and what are the actions that you are willing to take, and उसका consequence क्या होगा, उसके responsibilities में आपको वो actions लेते हैं. Because fundamentally everything is I am responsible. Correct? Because listening is what? It's a response, no? So everything is a response. Like you asked a questions, I'm possibly giving a response which will work for you, or it will work for some people. But it may something that sometimes you bring your own responses. Otherwise, the auto response is reaction. So lie is a reaction, because there is no freedom to speak the truth. Possibly that is why people go into lying. Like I remember myself, telling lies in school days for not having done the homework. कर दिया, नहीं तो punishment मिलेगा. To avoid that punishment. So उस time पे वो एक survival था, but तो वो एक habitual बन गया ना. So it's a call that you take every time. It's not something, as I said, listening is right now, and how much you are willing to give that person the space of your listening, because each of the people that who are growing in your environment, consider that you are giving them the growth space. Thank you.
I think how much maximum you can listen, it is better.
Sir, thank you very much for sharing these practical examples. My question is that it is very much important for a person to give the other one a feeling that he or she is being listened to. So if the person is in front of you, I can easily, with my cues, with my eye contact, I can give him or her a feeling that, okay, you speak, I'm listening, I'm all for it. But most of the people which I'm working are into virtual communication, the IT domain. So how does the listening mechanics work what's your opinion that how in virtual communication, how can we give a feeling to the others that, okay, you speak, I'm listening?
Yeah, so one of the things that I keep telling myself is I keep checking my listening. Okay, and there are times people also tell me, are you busy right now? Because they get a sense that I'm not listening. पकड़ लेते हैं, भले वो फिजिकली वीडियो में देख नहीं सकते हैं, बट फोन पे वो सेंस आ जाता है कि मैं बाद में बात करूं. Because it's not just about your ability to sense listening. Even the person who is speaking to you has the ability to sense your listening, because he wants your listening. So he has the more power to sense your listening. Just by you saying that I am listening, the person will not agree. My brother doesn't agree to me. Recently, मैं कान पे वो ईयरफोन लगा के बैठा था, and it was not on. So he just said something. So I said, I heard. No, you have your earphone. So I took it out and then I listened to it. Because I'll tell you, it helps people in your life, in your work. your listening looks very ordinary and you can't something that you can't see it, but it does a great help in taking your communications forward. एंड वो लंबा चौड़ा कम्युनिकेशन का जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ता है जब, और कभी कभी ना लिसनिंग इज मोर नॉट विद वर्ड्स, इट्स मोर विद नॉन वर्बल कम्युनिकेशंस. टोन से पता चलता है, यू नो, घर में एकदम शांति है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. कुछ आवाज नहीं है, मतलब कुछ गड़बड़ है. राइट? एंड आजकल वो लोग अपने मोबाइल पे लगे रहते हैं, मतलब कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, मतलब एक दूसरे के साथ बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, मतलब कम्युनिकेशन गैप इज देयर बिकॉज देयर इज नो लिसनिंग अवेलेबल फॉर. ये कुछ बोल इसका सुनूंगा तो सुनाते रहेगा. सो बेटर टू या सो जस्ट गेट दैट every time when you listen, you are not the same person listening to the other person. No, change is constant. We all know that change is constant, but at the same time, we don't believe that change is happening every time. The person you walked in today in this room and the person who's going to walk out of this room is not going to be the same. I'm not saying because of this session, because that's the way the life is designed for us. Change. Every day there is some change that you can experience in your life, which अगर वो आज का चेंज है ना तो छोटा सा है, दिखता नहीं है, वो साल का चेंज दिख जाता है. जो हम लोग जो 98 में मिले थे और उसके के टाइम का जो ब्लैक हेयर था, जो फोटो लगाया वो मेरा डाई वाला हेयर है. क्लियर? सो थैंक यू. Any other questions, please? Ram, Mahindra, you can also, please.
Hello. Rather, I have a suggestion for AMA that generally our government departments need more listening than the businesses. So, how AMA can collaborate or can help the government departments to listen its citizens? Just see municipalities or RTOs or any other department, especially state governments, I can vouch for. They hardly listen. So AMA has a responsibility towards the society more, and I think they can do something for it.
In fact, to share this, I happen to work with a gentleman called Asmukh Bhai Patel for last 1.5 decades, and he is currently with the Gujarat Police Housing as a managing director. So we do even work with them and his teams. So since you mentioned about now he's going to retire. Yeah. So we have done. I would say with thanks to Asmukh Bhai, because he's been the person who actually invited us to come and.
So basically, you know, this is something which is cropping up all the time. I think the government machinery, you'll find, you know, this is what our experience is also like. You know, he said Hasmukh Bhai Patel, who is a very senior IPS officer, he's a Director General rank officer. See, wherever there are enlightened officers, you know, those departments have better mechanism to listen to people. You remember, you know, way back, I think 25 years back, when plague happened in Surat. There was an outbreak of plague in Surat. That time, you know, a person called S.R. Rao was deputed there as a municipal commissioner. And I think it was him who made the entire system change. And even today, after that, you know, Surat city is considered to be cleaner than Ahmedabad or Rajkot or any other big cities in Gujarat. Simply because, you know, one active officer. But now what happens is, I've been interacting with a number of government officials, even, you know, local politicians like corporators and others. What I realize is, they are willing to listen. Problem is, all of them are stuck up somewhere. Say for example, a corporator of my area, you know, every time I call her up for some problem, she says, sir, તમે કહ્યું એટલે કરી જ દઈશું, પણ તમને કહું મને ટાઈમ આપો, કારણ કે મારે પણ કોઈકને આગળ કહેવાનું છે, મેયર સાહેબને કહેવું પડશે, આને કહેવું, because it's a very hierarchical structure. So wherever there is a hierarchy, it takes longer time. Why we are talking about this listening within private organizations and non-profit organizations is that there we can reduce that hierarchy. It's in our hands because we are the people who are involved with it. The entire system of government is designed in such a way that where as a common citizen, these days, last few years you have access to their Twitter handles and emails and helpline numbers. Whether it works or not, I don't know. Sometimes it works, majority of the times it doesn't work, as you are saying. I have also tried it, so I know. But I think change starts from within us. So if we can introduce this within ourselves and our organizations or our circles, maybe over a period of time it will happen. And especially I would say that this has to be inculcated in our children first, because now I think most of us have attained a age where maybe next 25 years 50 years will be there, but then we have to think much ahead of that. So I think we need to inculcate this in our children through our educational institutions, through our families, so that they become good listeners, they become people who don't react but respond. Reaction and response are two different things. 90 second wo kabhi baat karenge, next time if we come, just 90 seconds makes difference, that how you react and how you respond, and which is more constructive. So that's it. Anything else? Yeah, please.
I would like to ask that whenever I listen to someone, I have my own standpoints. Like there is some opinions that you showed in the first listening. So how to cope up with these challenges? Like
Vinu,
I have an opinion. You can keep on holding to that opinion, or you can let it go. So you are given the mic to hold on. Now you will give it back. आपको कितने देर तक अपने ओपिनियन को होल्ड करके रखने में मत फायदा है. Like if it is not a mic but a red or iron, will you hold on to it? Obviously not. So that opinion is taking you away from people, because it's your point of view. Like you have a point of view, सामने वाले का भी एक point of view है जो मैं सुन सकता हूँ एटलीस्ट. तो हो सकता है कि मुझे एक नया point of view मिल जाए उससे. Correct? That's why the survey is done for what? To get different point of view of customers. So people come and give you feedbacks, criticize you, because that will help you find out the drawbacks that you can grow on. And वही हुआ है बचपन से लेके आज तक. टीचर ने बोला नहीं ये सब्जेक्ट में आप कम कर रहे हो, इसमें थोड़ा मेहनत करना पड़ेगा. Like today, before we came, I told Ram, I am not used to this kind of a setup, so I'm nervous. मैंने बट साहब को बोल दिया. So Ram said, "Don't worry, I will take care." So you're right, but question is how long you will hold on, because you only have today. Do you want to miss your today, which is precious? But you'll have to come out of your yesterday, or you'll have to come out of your tomorrow to come and live your today. So whatever you can give is only now. And the only person who can give is you. And it's only when you have given, you have the opportunity to get it. That's why you give your time for education, you've given your time today. Thanks to you all. Sorry we have exceeded the time. My sincere apology to all of you, because we said 7:45, we exceeded the time. Okay? So thanks for your, once again, for giving your wonderful listening, because whatever we could speak was inside of the listening you gave us. And I can't tell you, it can't be said in words. It's something which is very special for us. Yeah, thank you very much on behalf of all of us.
Yeah, thank you very much, all the esteemed faculty members. On behalf of AMA, I would like to thank each of you at AMA. I would like to, only 2 to 3 minutes, I would like to share with you my 2 projects which I am doing since last 2 years. So 2 years back, I was in touch with Professor James Doty at Stanford University. So he was, having a very excellent project in pertaining to our listening part. So that's why I'm sharing with you. So I am the India project head for this project now after 2 years. So 2 years I did a very, in-depth research about, so like, in our family, each one of us, have a mobile phone. So like child and, parents, wife, sister, mother. So he came out with an idea that, कौन किसके साथ कितने मिनट तक बात करता है within 24 hours. So let's do some research, within our family members. तो यूएस में पूरा एक रिसर्च हुआ, अलग अलग सिटीज़ के अंदर, यूके में रिसर्च हुआ. सो नाउ आफ्टर 2 years द एंटायर टीम इज नाउ इन इंडिया. सो दे टोल्ड मी, दीपक, इफ़ यू कैन डू अ शॉर्ट सर्वे, घर में कितने लोग कितने मिनट तक बात करते हैं, so that we can come out with a research. I was not knowing what is the purpose of this research. He has not shared with me. Now yesterday, I had a video call with him, then he shared. So he found that almost 70 to 72% we are not listening to our family members because we are busy at our office. We are busy, making food for our family members. Children are busy in social media apps, reels, and Instagram, like that. Parents are also busy with their senior citizen club on WhatsApp, etc., etc. So now what to do? So he has, he's working on a AI project. So he developed a mobile app where you can talk with an artificial intelligent lady, where you can share your feeling with her. I'm not feeling comfortable, I stuck at home. And it's a multi-dollar billion project, let me tell you. He charged only 49 rupees for 8 minutes of talk. So if you want to talk with some stranger, then you have to pay 49 rupees. And now, today, within 3 months, the total downloads is more than 10 millions. Only in India, sir. Only in India. Now he's implementing next week in US. So, the summary of this entire session is we have to listen basically, So whenever I go to the office, my wife always tells me that, bopore શું જમવામાં ખાશો, સાંજે શું ખાશો. So I always take a pause. સાંભળ્યું કે નહીં? The second question always come. મેં કીધું હા સાંભળ્યું. તો શું બનાવવું? આમ તો મેં દાળ પલાળેલી છે. મેં તો શું કામ મને પૂછે છે? So, so Abdu, this. So you have to keep actively, listening. So thank you very much, sir, Mahendra sir, Ramakrishna sir, Venugopal sir, and also thanks to our audience. Thank you so much.